It can all feel pretty overwhelming. Yes, you don't want to die, but you also don't want to live like this. The desire to simply fade away and relinquish the heavy burden of existing, this seems like the easier path. But there's something inside that compelled you to click on this, perhaps out of curiosity or hope. But where to start? How can you actually start wanting to live again? The main idea is to distinguish between what you can control and accept what you can't. But this is easier said than done. Let's start with where you are, what we might call the microsystem. This is your immediate psychological and relational environment, your mind, your bedroom, your roommates. To want to live again, you first need to feel safe and secure. This, of course, isn't always possible, but a sense of safety can also be cultivated from within. Small interactions, a walk with a friend, a short phone call, even what I try to do here, all of these are meant to invoke a sense of being seen. All of the nightmarish dialogue on the inside, the misery, the trauma, it needs to go somewhere, whether through the gentle understanding of a close loved one or the pages of a journal. There are few processes more healing than having your suffering received in gentleness and confidence. This externalizing of the internal, bringing representation to the felt experience of hopelessness, can go a long way towards creating a feeling of safety. And if you can think back to moments where you felt accepted, you can try to stay there for a while. You start wanting to live again when your immediate world becomes more secure and more connected. Once you've established some sense of safety through connection, through agency, through applying meaning to the pain, let's take it to a second layer of existence, the mesosystem. This is where the different parts of your life interact, relationships, work, routines, and your own values. It can feel like an overwhelming mess of interconnected chaos. Where do you even begin? There are, however, some guiding principles to help establish coherence here. Well-being researchers have consistently found that individuals who feel satisfied in terms of their autonomy, relatedness, and competence often enjoy life and remain resilient against difficult experiences. These are called basic psychological needs, and their relative absence or presence can make or break your relationship with life. Autonomy is the need for us to agree with our own behavior, to feel that we are acting volitionally and agentically. Relatedness is the need for us to feel a sense of belonging and connection, and competence is our need to feel masterful and effective in our environment. Together, these needs function like the food, water, and shelter of our mental health, entirely necessary if we want to live happily. So the trick here is to do an audit. Firstly, what areas of your life are aligning with who you are? Where are you maybe compromising? Do you feel free to decide for yourself how to live life? Secondly, are you experiencing a sufficient amount of social connection? Do you feel like people in your life care about you? Finally, how often do you feel a sense of accomplishment? How often do you feel capable? The answers might sting at first, but this is preferable to a continued suffering with no apparent source. Through locating where in life your relationships and routines hinder rather than support your experience of autonomy, relatedness, and competence, you take a significant step in wanting to live again. So now what? You might just feel more aware of how bad your life is. But now we can distinguish between things at the level of the mesosystem and that which is currently out of control. It can feel like our present circumstances are our responsibility alone, but the exosystem, the institutions that shape your life, are not your fault. We live in a culture that often dehumanizes, alienates, and isolates us. The basic psychological needs are sadly not central to how things are set up, and it can be enough just to recognize this, to understand that inadequate education, parenting, social media are all things that happen to us. The loss of third spaces, the creeping rise of techno-feudalism, and the erosion of democracy, living on a burning planet. This isn't your fault, but none of these things justify absolute resignation. The question is, what can you control? Now we move to a slightly different layer, the chronosystem. This is your historical, biographical, and developmental timeline. It's the story you tell yourself. The will to live is deeply tied to your location in this story. Is it the beginning of the end, or is this a redemption arc? For those struggling with suicidal thoughts, it could be hard to imagine the existence of future chapters. This is sometimes called narrative foreclosure, total hopelessness. But here is the crucial next step, recognizing that you are the author of your own existence. Freedom is what you do with what's been done to you. Sure, institutional obstacles have caused suffering, but this should be met with proactive mobilization rather than defeat. Your life becomes authentic when you take responsibility for your own story. This is yours to not just manage, but to cultivate. Your suffering emerges from multiple interacting layers, from the state of your bedroom to the erosion of human rights. And so mental health advice that offers a total cure is always going to come up short. I don't know what you can or cannot change, only you can answer that. But please know that at each level there are abundant opportunities for meaning, from making art to fighting for what's right. The main task is to differentiate between the systems of influence and work your way up, from coping to resilience and finally, hopefully, autonomy. And if you can't see the whole path right now, it's okay. You just need to take it one step at a time, one day at a time. The first one is always the hardest, but with each step, it gets a little easier. So why not start today?